For 3 years, my boss presented my work to the board and took every bonus that came with it. When I asked for a raise last spring, he laughed and said I should be grateful to have a job. 2 weeks later, I sent one email to the legal department and his entire career unraveled in under 4 hours. I joined the company at 26, straight out of my master's program. I was the only software engineer on a team of 3, working under a director who had not written code in nearly a decade. My job was to build the platform his entire division would run on. My boss's job was to tell the executives how it was going. For the first year, I was flattered. He brought me into meetings. He introduced me to people higher up. He said I reminded him of himself at my age. I worked 60-hour weeks. I turned down offers from other companies because he told me a promotion was coming. Every quarter he would say, "Next one, trust me." In year 2, something started to feel wrong. Our platform launched. It was widely praised internally. My boss got a promotion. He got a bonus equal to my entire annual salary. I got a plaque for my cubicle that said employee contribution. I told myself I was being impatient. I kept working. I kept writing code. My boss kept presenting it to the board as his division's achievement. In year 3, he told me the company was in a hiring freeze, and there would be no raises that cycle. I later learned from a friend in finance that the freeze did not apply to directors, and that my boss had just authorized a bonus pool of $800,000 for himself and 2 peers. None of it touched the engineers who had built the platform. That was the moment things shifted for me. But I did not say anything right away. Here is what my boss did not know. When I built the platform, I had done it under my own time as well as company time, partly because he never approved the extra hours I needed, and partly because I had a habit of prototyping on my personal equipment before cleaning the code for the company repository. Every major architectural piece had been designed and committed from my personal GitHub account in the months before I was even authorized to work on it. Legal had never asked me to sign the standard IP assignment form because they processed me as a contractor for the first 11 months and then forgot to update the paperwork when I converted to full-time. I had emails, I had timestamps, I had a copy of the onboarding checklist where the IP form was listed as pending. I had 3 years of silence from HR confirming they never followed up. I spent 2 weeks consulting with an outside attorney. He reviewed every document. He told me that legally, the core intellectual property of the platform that my boss had built his career on was mine, not the company's. I had licensed it to them implicitly, but I had not transferred it. I sent one email to the general counsel of the company. Subject line was polite. Body was 3 paragraphs. First paragraph explained that I was raising an issue regarding unassigned intellectual property. Second paragraph listed the specific files, commit dates, and repository histories. Third paragraph offered a conversation. The general counsel called me within 40 minutes. She was polite but clearly alarmed. She asked me to come to a meeting the next morning. She asked me not to discuss the situation with anyone else in the meantime. I did not tell my boss. The next morning, I sat in a conference room with the general counsel, the chief technology officer, and a head of HR I had never met. They showed me a prepared retention offer. It included a new title, a 70% raise, a retroactive equity grant backdated 2 years, and a 7-figure bonus tied to transferring the IP properly. They also asked me to sign a confidentiality agreement about the discussion. I signed. My boss was called into his own meeting an hour later. I do not know exactly what was said. I know that he walked out with a box of his belongings by the end of the day. I know the CTO personally walked me to a new office that afternoon. I know that 3 engineers who had quietly supported me in the background were promoted within the month. 6 months later, I ran into my former boss at an industry conference. He tried to greet me like an old colleague. I shook his hand politely and walked past him to give the keynote he had been expected to give. Here's what I learned. The people who take credit for your work are counting on you never reading your own paperwork. They are counting on you being grateful enough or scared enough not to ask questions. The smartest thing you can do when someone is systematically stealing from you is to keep working quietly while you document everything. Have you ever watched someone take credit for your work? Tell me how you handled it in the comments.